time never saw private eyes like these before.
Freeze. You okay, Kelly? You okay, Bree?
Don't you get it?
Charlie's Angels invented a whole new kind of television.
I thought it was ridiculous. Jiggle TV.
I don't jiggle much, so I really didn't have to worry about it.
I'm just saying, personally, I wore a bra.
The smash hit created an instant superstar.
I was the athletic one.
A Farrah frenzy.
Kate was the smart one.
Come on, calm down.
Jackie was the beautiful one. Hi.
But when the cameras weren't rolling, the ride got bumpy.
Kelly, hit the brake!
She didn't want to be there.
You can't quit, you're fired.
We just came to this impasse.
In the next 2 hours, you'll find out what really happened behind the scenes with exclusive interviews and rare clips.
Anything you say, darling.
For the first time ever, all 6 angels will reveal their backstage secrets.
Oh, I can't believe I did that.
There were a lot of divorces.
I'm not an exhibitionist.
These gals ruled the Nielsen ratings and kicked the pants off the bad guys. This is Charlie's Angels TV Tales.
It's an invitation you can't refuse.
Like a martini.
When Charlie's Angels started battling bad guys back in 1976, all 3 angels became stars.
They were living in a veritable fishbowl.
Crowds were forming and screaming.
I now know what rock stars go through.
And they were the queen fishes.
But one angel became an overnight phenomenon.
Knock, 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 it's me.
Farrah Mania was sweeping the country.
Farrah Fawcett emerged as a national obsession, but the breakout star of Charlie's Angels only wanted one thing.
All she really wanted was out. O-U-T.
This was crazy. Why was she doing it?
For Farrah, getting out would not be easy.
It was ugly.
Farrah's battle with producers hit the rest of the cast hard.
Oh, it was horrible.
We were all sad about it.
We were in the eye of this incredible storm.
And the series became a revolving door of replacement angels.
I knew that it was, in a way, a curse, in a way, a break.
I had press people crawling in my windows.
It was just kind of the best of times and the worst of times.
There's a downside to this stuff.
You get pigeonholed when you're in something that gets so much attention.
The show became a victim of its own success.
When you've been number one, and you drop to number 15, that's shocking.
We went through a year of hell.
It was devastating.
Complicated.
Euphoria. Difficult.
Sad. No regrets.
It was horrible.
You can't have it all and have it all be perfect.
From the beginning, Charlie's Angels had to overcome remarkable obstacles just to get on the air. Yet the series came from one of the most successful production teams of all time, Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg. The dynamic pair dominated TV programming in the 70s with shows like Starsky and Hutch, Fantasy Island, Family, and Vegas. The 2 men first worked together during the 60s when Goldberg was a network executive.
I knew him for a long time when he was with ABC, and we became friends then.
I bought some shows from Aaron, who was then producing on his own, principally the Mod Squad.
By 1972, Goldberg joined forces with Spelling. The producers scored big with a cop drama called The Rookies.
The rest is history for both of us.
He was a kid from Dallas, Texas, and I was a kid from Brooklyn, New York, and we seemed to, together, be able to come up with some good stuff.
In 1974, Spelling and Goldberg put together a pitch for a new series they titled The Alley Cats.
A show about 3 beautiful girls who were private detectives, and we called it the Alley Cats because their names were Allison, Lee, and I forget Catherine.
During the 70s, cop dramas featured strong male leads, like Kojak, starring Telly Savalas. But Spelling and Goldberg could tell the climate was changing.
We thought the audience would like to escape into something a little more fanciful. So we started with the idea of beautiful girls. I was a bachelor then, and it was appealing to me, thinking ahead to the casting anyway.
In 1974, The Rookies was still going strong on ABC. The cast featured a 25-year-old actress named Kate Jackson. Jaclyn was a Southern beauty from Birmingham, Alabama. In 1970, Kate graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York. Like many young actors, Jaclyn took a job waiting tables to pay the rent.
I had just been hired as a waitress at Steak and Brew in New York. So I went in to talk to the man and to tell him I'd be a little late because I had a camera test for a soap opera. And he said, "You mean you're an actress? You're fired. You people never show up."
But Jaclyn won a role on the Gothic soap opera Dark Shadows.
I started out a ghost. I didn't speak for 5 weeks. I beckoned. You couldn't really go, "Hey," to beckon. And I learned this is the way you beckon. You lower your head and you extend your arm. And you just look, and that's beckoning, and they come to you every time. At least they did on Dark Shadows.
In 1972, Jaclyn joined the cast of The Rookies.
You want to roll the dice anytime soon?
You know, acting as bait for a man who's already killed 3 women is not exactly light housekeeping, is it?
I was Jill Danko, and I was the nurse, and evidently I got a fair amount of fan mail because just about every week, the rookies ended up at the hospital, and no matter what happened to whomever they brought to the hospital, that was in my department. I was there to help them.
Jaclyn also starred in a television movie for Spelling Goldberg called Satan's School for Girls.
Oh, I can't believe I did that. I played Satan. No, I didn't. I played one of the girls.
Producer Leonard Goldberg saw Kate Jaclyn as a rising star who could carry his series, The Alley Cats.
We thought she was terrific. So we started with Kate.
Spelling and Goldberg unveiled The Alley Cats during a power breakfast with ABC programming brass in the Polo Lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
And Aaron and I had breakfast with Mike Eisner and Barry Diller at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And we pitched them this idea. And they said, "That's the worst idea we've ever heard. And forget about it." But we didn't forget about it.
The pitch fell flat, but the Alley Cats still had a life or two left. A few months later, the idea was revived when the producers discovered an unlikely pair of partners, Hollywood glamour couple Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood.
R.J. Wagner and his wife, Natalie Wood, had done a movie, her only television movie at the time, called The Affair. And part of their salary for the movie was they would receive 50% of the next pilot that Spelling Goldberg shot.
Spelling and Goldberg realized the Wagner's contract could revive the Alley Cats.
Page 19 said ABC would pay $25,000 to develop a script to be owned jointly by their company, Rona Productions, and Spelling Goldberg.
Goldberg then presented the Alley Cats idea to Robert Wagner.
When I saw RJ, I told him the idea because we were going to be partners, and he said to me, "That's a terrible idea for a television series, but you guys know what you're doing. If you like it, go ahead."
With the Wagners on board, the producers convinced the network to let them develop a script for the Alley Cats. But even with a script, network execs still weren't interested. The project was shelved at ABC, and this time the idea seemed dead for good. But nothing is forever in TV. By 1975, ABC had a new head of programming, Fred Silverman. Silverman was best known for turning CBS into a powerhouse with sitcoms like All in the Family and The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Silverman was intrigued by a new trend, action shows with feminist themes, like Police Woman, starring Angie Dickinson, and The Bionic Woman, with Lindsay Wagner in the title role.
I think it at least exposed the networks to the fact that a woman could actually be in an action show.
Silverman gave a green light to make the Alley Cats pilot, starring Kate Jaclyn. The actress jumped right into the creative process.
I went in, and Aaron and Leonard and I sat around, and I gave them some of my ideas, and they didn't like them much, and they gave me some of their ideas, and I didn't like them much.
Goldberg, Spelling, and Jaclyn continued brainstorming.
I stood up and said, "Okay, but what if you had, say, 3 women who worked for, my eyes just happened to fall on the speakerphone on Aaron's desk. Somebody that they never saw because he called them. And there were detectives, and he would call them to give them their assignment. And his name was like, I don't know, Harry or something."
Then the creative team went to work to give the angels their wings.
She and Len and I were talking about what to call it. she suddenly said, I have an idea. We said, what? And she said, that picture there.
There was an oil painting of 3 angels.
And she said, well, we call it the Angels. And we just looked at each other, and from then on it was called
Harry's Angels.
But the producers later realized the title Harry's Angels wouldn't work at ABC.
Well, we were calling it Harry's Angels, but a show went on the air called Harry O with David Jansen. And so we thought we didn't want to have another Harry on the air. One Harry was enough for network television.
So the creative team crafted a new title, Charlie's Angels. Kate Jackson appeared to fit perfectly as the lead angel, but Spelling and Goldberg had a big problem. Who were the other 2 beauties going to be? In 1975, a casting call went out for a new pilot called Charlie's Angels, starring a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead who could kick butt and solve crimes.
We thought if you have a dark-haired girl, you have a blonde, we should get a redhead. That's how deep we were at the time.
Producers Leonard Goldberg and Aaron Spelling already had their brunette, Kate Jackson. They planned to build their show around her playing head angel Kelly Garrett. But they still needed 2 more angels, and one of them had to fit a very specific profile.
She was the quintessential California girl. She was beautiful, blonde, very optimistic, and very athletic, outdoors.
The producer's quintessential California girl actually came from Texas. Farrah Fawcett was a sexy 27-year-old blonde from Corpus Christi.
Farrah was breathtaking. I mean, her hair, her smile, her teeth, I mean, everything was perfect.
Farrah launched her career in TV commercials.
Mother always told me, sit up straight, eat all your vegetables, and stay out of small foreign cars. But Joey, Mother never told me about Ultra Bright.
My mother thought that all that whitening would make me too exciting, so Mother never told me about Ultra Bright.
By 1969, the model turned actress with a bit part on the TV series I Dream of Jeannie.
Oh, look, honey, I know you're crazy about me and all that, but just for tonight, try to keep your paws off me, okay? This is an official party.
Anything you say, darling.
Anything I say.
4 years later, Farrah hooked up with popular TV star Lee Majors.
She was married to a very handsome television star, Lee Majors, who was the star of The $6 Million Man.
Before Kate Jackson ever met Farrah, she spotted Fawcett and Lee Majors at a Hollywood party.
I remember looking at them and thinking, that is the most beautiful couple I have ever seen in my life. I don't have a chance in this town, you know.
In 1975, Farrah turned up on shows like Harry O, as well as her husband's series, The $6 Million Man. Producer Aaron Spelling recognized Farrah's star potential after casting her as a stewardess in a TV movie.
There was a twinkle in her eyes, and her eyes told you everything.
I had done a show called Murder on Flight 502.
She just had this small part in 502, but we loved her.
And it was kind of a big ensemble piece. Sonny Bono, a very eclectic group of people. It was a Spelling Goldberg show.
She used to come over with Lee Majors and play tennis with Candy and myself. So we got to know her quite well.
Spelling and Goldberg decided Farrah had the goods to be one of Charlie's Angels.
Well, we just cast her, and we thought she'd be great.
And then we looked for the 3rd girl. Kate and I went in and read with a few girls.
Finding that elusive 3rd angel was difficult.
We couldn't find any redhead that we liked.
One of the producers of Charlie's Angels at the time, Rick Husky, was familiar with Jaclyn. They had gone out a few times, so when her name came up, he suggested her.
I had an audition, and it didn't go well.
Jaclyn does not do well for cold readings.
I was never much into just, spur of the moment. I like to have the lines.
So when she went in, she just felt like she did a terrible reading.
It didn't look good.
The show's silent partner turned out to be Jaclyn's guardian angel. Actor Robert Wagner still owned 45% of Charlie's Angels. Wagner was so impressed with Jaclyn Smith when she appeared on his CBS series Switch that he decided to help her get a second audition.
RJ called in and said, you know, you really got to see her. So really, he was very instrumental in me getting the role.
Jaclyn Smith was a stunning 29-year-old beauty from Houston, Texas. As a girl, Smith dreamed of becoming a ballet dancer.
I studied dance from a young age, and I went to New York to study with Balanchine and the School of American Ballet.
At the urging of friends, Smith traded in her dancing shoes for dramatic acting roles on shows like McCloud and The Rookies. But the first time most people saw Jaclyn Smith was in TV commercials.
So Wella Balsam shampoo is the only shampoo for me. Try it for regular or oily hair. You'll love your hair.
Although Smith's first audition for Charlie's Angels did not go well, her second attempt was much better.
I went in, and it was a lark, and I really didn't think much about it.
She was a relatively inexperienced actress, but we thought she would develop over time.
It was always inferred that she got the job because she was dating Rick Husky, but that relationship was over. She simply got it because she sparkled in front of the camera.
She walked in and we just looked at each other and said, oh my God.
That second reading also convinced her future co-stars.
Jaclyn came in and we knew, yeah, she's the one.
We liked one another. Kate was from the South, Farrah and I from Texas. We had a lot in common.
Farrah was the only married angel. Kate and Jaclyn at the time were both single, and neither one had time for a social life. These girls were constantly working.
The ladies were ready to roll, but the network chiefs still needed some convincing.
And then the three of us went to the network, and we thought we were just going to meet the people at the network. And then we discovered we were going to read so that they could see how it sounded, and we all, Farrah and I, looked at each other and sort of freaked out. But we read, and it must not have gone too badly because we did the pilot.
With all three angels in place, the producers turned their attention to Charlie. Originally, Aaron Spelling cast Gig Young as the voice of Charles Townsend. The debonair, Oscar-winning actor had a smooth, sophisticated voice, exactly what Spelling needed. But Gig Young also had a devastating drinking problem.
Well, it's unfortunate because he was a big movie star at one point, and we were very fortunate to get him, and he had a great voice. But he just had some personal problems that prevented him from delivering a performance that we thought we needed.
So the producers called in actor John Forsythe.
The only voice of Charlie, the only person to do that. I mean, the way he did it was just terrific.
John Forsythe was a familiar face on television, though no one would ever see him on Charlie's Angels. During the late 1950s, Forsythe played the lead on Bachelor Father. In 1969, Forsythe starred as a college professor on the series To Rome with Love. Forsythe was a reliable veteran who could carry a part even if he wasn't on camera.
He did this Charlie stuff as if it was the Bible.
Actor David Doyle also joined the pilot cast. After launching his acting career on Broadway, Doyle spent a year on the TV sitcom Bridget Loves Bernie in 1971. Doyle landed the part of John Bosley, Charlie's business associate, without even reading for the role.
He didn't have to audition. He's a wonderful actor. He has a great sunny disposition. He plays comedy very well.
David Doyle was the consummate pro. He was just terrific. I mean, you needed him. You needed Bosley. And Bosley needed to be just the way David played him for it to work.
Actor David Ogden Stiers rounded out the cast as Scott Woodville, Charlie's personal attorney who helped Bosley give the Angels their assignments. With the cast set, a 90-minute pilot episode of Charlie's Angels began shooting in July 1975. Guest stars for the pilot included Bo Hopkins, Diana Muldaur, and yet another Texan, a young actor named Tommy Lee Jones.
I remember him being very, very nervous, and I've thought about it later as I've seen all the wonderful, marvelous performances he's done, that his hands were shaking. But I guess, again, that was the beginning for him. But he was good. He was great.
The pilot script was crafted to make one angel the star, the character named Kelly. Kate Jackson was supposed to play that part, but she changed her mind.
Kelly was really the best part in the pilot, and it was written for Kate. When I read the script, I liked the Sabrina character better, and I called Erin and said, could I be Sabrina, please? She wanted the challenge of being, you know, this sort of debutante fashion plate. I became Sabrina instead of Kelly.
Sabrina may have been fashionable with clothes, but cars were another matter.
Oh, the only thing I didn't like about my character was that she did drive that orange Pinto. Every time you cut to Charlie's office, there was that Pinto parked in the front, so you could never forget, Sabrina drives an orange Pinto. But it was amazing how in a car chase that Pinto could go. That Pinto could really speed along. I'm not laughing at the orange Pinto. I'm laughing with the orange Pinto.
Jaclyn Smith took on the featured role of Kelly Garrett, but the network suits wanted to fire Smith after the first day of shooting.
When we shot the pilot and the network saw the first day's dailies, they wanted to replace Jackie Smith. They said, well, she's not, you know, she's not good enough. They were very serious about wanting to replace Jackie.
It was scary. It was the first time I'd had a lead in a series. You have butterflies, you have nerves. I mean, you're learning. I mean, it was a whole new world, a whole, you know, whole education for me.
Spelling and Goldberg went to bat for their young actress.
Aaron and I fought them very vigorously and said, we think she's going to be a big star, and we think you're wrong, and so why don't you watch some other people's pilots and let us do what we do. And so they acquiesced.
The producers dodged a bullet, at least for the moment. Smith was still angel material. Once the pilot was completed, however, the producers prepared for another old-fashioned showdown. ABC's head of programming, Fred Silverman, loved the pilot, but network president Fred Pierce had some problems with the script. Fred Silverman's right-hand man was former ABC executive Seymour Amlin.
It showed promise, but it was a risk.
The networks had this stupid thing about women can't carry a series.
And they were very nervous about that. Very nervous about having women do action-adventure.
The network decided not to schedule the pilot, so the producers immediately called a meeting with Pierce.
We looked at each other, oh hell, here we go.
Unless Spelling and Goldberg could convince the network chief to change his mind, Charlie's Angels would be axed before the 90-minute pilot made it to the tube. In the fall of 1975, the head of ABC took a look at the pilot for Charlie's Angels and decided to shelve the show. But the network boss gave producers one last chance to save their series.
They kept saying, well, what makes it different?
Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg ad-libbed a setup. Something about how the Angels graduated from the police academy, but a man named Charlie took them away from cop work and hired the Angels as private eyes instead.
And they said, oh, that's great. That explains the whole thing. And they bought it from that moment.
We decided to test it by putting it on the air in March and seeing what the reaction would be.
On March 21st, 1976, the Angels took to the airways for the first time in a special 90-minute made-for-TV movie.
If it had done better than a 30 share, we would have been satisfied. It did, of course, much better than that.
The ratings astounded everyone. More than 30 million viewers tuned in to watch the pilot of Charlie's Angels. On the Nielsen scale, the show pulled a 49 share, meaning nearly half the people watching TV at the time were watching Charlie's Angels. That was a score usually reserved for big events like the Super Bowl. The numbers were unbelievable.
As soon as it was over, I turned the television set off and I said, we got a winner.
And it got this enormous rating.
Oh, wow. There's no way to describe it.
We knew we had touched a nerve somehow.
Today, when you see all the competition in cable, and none of the shows have those kind of ratings.
Euphoria. We felt we might have another hit.
The Angels cleared a huge hurdle, and the network decided to reward them. ABC slated the show as a regular series for the fall season. The cast and crew took over a permanent spot on the lot of 20th Century Fox in Century City. Soundstage number 8 wasn't exactly heaven, but it became the new home for Charlie's Angels.
We had fun. The chemistry was great. We all kind of bonded together. Kate, who had done a series before, she'd done The Rookie, so she was like, you know, the mother hen, you know, she would say to us, do this, and she was kind of the bossy one, but we all, you know, adored each other.
We were all different, You know, each brought something different to the show.
There was one casting change, however. David Ogden Steyer's character was dropped from the show. 1 year later, Steyers joined the cast of MASH for 6 seasons as Major Charles Winchester III. Then, during the summer of '76, while the first episodes were in production, a craze began that changed the fate of Charlie's Angels months before the fall premiere.
When Charlie's Angels started, Farrah Fawcett was always bigger than the show. I think the show always had to try to catch up to Farrah.
The Farrah phenomenon began after her pinup poster was released in July 1976. Over the next 6 months, the sexy poster sold more than 7 million copies and turned Farrah into an icon.
I saw that this poster could represent something to everyone.
Because she was this sexy but all-American girl, you know, with this beautiful smile.
Hundreds of thousands of men had their first sexual experience with Farrah. She just wasn't there.
It was a great poster, you know. I think it really captured Farrah and her essence.
The unusual thing about it, besides her beauty, etc., was with that red bathing suit, was nipples pushing against the fabric of a bathing suit. Had never been part of what people realized could turn on the male species.
While the poster was building a big sizzle for Charlie's Angels, trouble was already brewing on the set. The cast got along great, but the creative team was coming under fire from the network for bad scripts. That summer, Barney Rosenzweig joined Charlie's Angels as one of the show's producers.
Charlie's Angels was a silly piece of fluff that wasn't going anywhere, they thought, and was going to be a failure, they thought.
Everyone was feeling the pressure. On September 22, 1976, Charlie's Angels debuted as a weekly series. Charlie's Angels kicked off in the Nielsen Top 10, with the debut episode coming in at number 8.
I now know what rock stars go through because it had such a success right off the bat.
We were shooting, you know, all summer, and I've always felt like we had this great little secret because it wasn't on the air yet, but I knew it was going to just go bananas.
Wait! I am not a yo-yo!
3 beautiful babes chained together delivered exactly what a young male audience was craving. The 4th episode ranked number 3 in the Nielsen ratings.
We did have some really singularly high episodes. I think it was Angels in Chains, and I had a 42 share, which was unheard of then.
We were chained together, but we were just chatting and talking. When one of us had to go to the honey wagon, there would be, you know, you'd have your arm sticking underneath the door to the porta potty, to the bathroom thing, and the chain was long enough that the person who was on the other side of the door could have their arm like that and still be, you know, doing whatever they had to do. And so we remained chained together for about a week and got to know each other really well. It was fun. It was just a hoot.
That was probably one of the most memorable and fun because we were chained together and it had all these cliche things.
How long has it been since you've been sprayed?
Get cute in here, and you can get hurt.
In the fall of '76, Angel Mania was going full force.
Everybody wanted to know them. Everybody wanted to have them at their dinner party, to be at their event, to wear their clothes, to be on their magazine cover. They were in incredible demand.
You have a half an hour to get ready, girls.
Ready for what?
You're going to a party. And believe me, it's an invitation you can't refuse.
ABC was flooded with fan mail, averaging 18,000 letters a week. Most of that mail went to one angel in particular, Farrah.
There is pretty, and there is beautiful, and then way above that, there is Farrah Fawcett.
With Farrah front and center, the Angels soon found themselves on the covers of magazines like People and TV Guide. By November, the ratings shot straight up to primetime heaven when the show reached number 1, and the trio scored the coveted cover of Time magazine. The show was no longer just a success, it was a total sensation.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Aaron Spelling and Len Goldberg, they call us and say, "You were number 1." They were so thrilled for us.
It just became part of the culture, and there's no way to stop it.
And it didn't go away. It went on and on and on.
But the celebration was not unanimous.
The critics all criticized us.
Charlie's Angels was derided for launching what was referred to as Jiggle TV.
was ridiculous. Jiggle TV. I mean, we were in a bathing suit on the beach.
It is meant to be light. It's meant to be so light, if you threw it in the air, it would take a week to hit the ground.
It wasn't meant to be Shakespeare. It was meant to have fun and escape, and, you know, we need that.
The guys at NBC said it was Jiggle television. They invented that, I guess because it wasn't on NBC.
Every episode usually featured at least one of the stars wearing a skimpy outfit or sporting a bikini. The producers hammered that point home to writer Ed Laxo.
And the only thing they really wanted was to get the girls to show as much skin as possible.
Feminists had a field day firing shots at the show.
I was beginning to feel like they were going to shoot me for putting pornography in there.
I never felt like, oh, well, this is sex exploitation. It never entered my mind. Never.
There were people who said that it was putting women down because we were doing it. And I was saying, don't you get it?
It's the first time there were 3 females who had leads.
They should be applauding that it's 3 women as leads instead of 3 men in a series.
This is showing you that women can do anything.
We were independent women, empowered women.
Despite a few battle scars from critics and feminists, the first season's success of Charlie's Angels was nothing less than magical. But a time bomb was ticking. Kate Jackson had top billing, and she was making a lot more money than her co-stars.
I got a feeling this whole thing's about to explode. Hey, wait.
Kate made, I think it was like $10,000 a week, and Farrah made $5,000, and Jaclyn Smith made $5,000. But everything changed.
During the fall of 1976, millions of Americans had something in common: a raging case of angel fever. One angel in particular was getting most of the attention. Farrah Fawcett Majors was a national obsession.
Farrah became an overnight phenomenon. I mean, she was nearly legendary status within a matter of months. I mean, it was just a Farrah frenzy.
She was very smart, and she was more savvy about merchandising than I was, and she knew that she had done this poster, and it was hers.
Everything was Farrah, Farrah, Farrah.
Well, what do I think of Farrah Fawcett Majors? I love her. Oh, she's a very beautiful girl.
She's a beautiful girl, and she has fantastic hair.
I like her.
The sexy blonde hypnotized men, and women everywhere wanted the Farrah look. Farrah's former stylist, Alan Edwards.
The interesting thing about her hair was, it was the first long hairstyle that became famous.
The women all did their hair like Farrah, and they wanted their daughters to grow up and be like her, and then wanted to marry her instead of just sleeping with her.
The Farrah craze sparked look-alike contests in Hollywood.
The Farrah Fawcett look-alike winner.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
Overnight, she was the sex goddess of the 70s, and her future seemed unlimited.
I remember the conversation at her trailer, and I said, Farrah, I'm going to help make you the biggest star in the world. And she said to me, Jay, that's very nice, but I have a hair appointment, and I'd like to sit here longer and talk to you, but I really have to go now. That was it.
The producers behind Charlie's Angels wasted no time cashing in on Farrah Fever.
Sabrina, Jill, and Kelly. They're Charlie's Angels.
Angels merchandising took off like a rocket.
I never dreamed a doll would be patterned after me. And then I gave it to my daughter, and the head flew off and the legs flew off.
One of the dolls I had on the tackiest outfit I've ever seen in my life is a little red number. I don't even know what to say. I can't describe it. And my hair was just very weird.
The show was selling plenty of toys and games, but Farrah was the real frenzy.
We didn't expect her to burst out the way she burst out.
When Farrah started getting all the attention, then it started getting sticky, and it was kind of sometimes uneasy moments about who was going to do what.
It was hard for Kate to handle that because she was the first one we cast, and we had imagined that she would be the star of the show.
Kate Jackson, who was promised one thing and got another, I'm sure was very upset the way the concept of the show was evolving.
But Farrah just came out. It just happened.
Then suddenly each girl had to have a new dressing room, and then if it was that much bigger than the other ones, they had to build another one. But it was making so much money, and it was so successful that Aaron would give them what they wanted.
And Aaron Spelling made sure the Angels got what they wanted. Producers shelled out the bucks so that the ladies always looked divine and never disappointed the audience.
We did spend a lot of time and a lot of money on our makeup and hair.
We each had our own makeup and hair person.
Somebody quipped, if you ever want to find one of the angels on the set, just follow the hairbrushes.
Are there dressing rooms?
What do you think this is? Saks Fifth Avenue? Drop the towels and get to it.
They did not want us to change our hair. They, take as long as you want to comb your hair, to groom your hair. Fashion, there could be 7 changes. The more the merrier.
We spent over $100,000 a season on the clothes.
Kate was the one who never wanted to do any fittings. Farrah and I couldn't wait to put on the pretty clothes.
Spelling's longtime friend, Nolan Miller, was brought in as the Angels' wardrobe designer. Miller teamed up with Farrah to unhook a new trend.
And that's how we got around to eliminating their bras. Farrah started that whole thing because on the Paris runways, the models were not wearing bras. So, of course, Farrah was the first to get rid of her bras, and the next thing, everybody had followed suit. That's how the show became known as the show with the jiggles. They used to always say that more wives got lucky following Charlie's Angels than the rest of the week.
It didn't matter if we were in a ditch. We were going to look good.
But the workload was demanding, and the schedule was tough.
I suggest everyone get a good night's sleep tonight. You got a long, hard day tomorrow in the potato fields, and wake up is 5 a.m.
Aw, gee, I never get up until 10.
Oh, well, then I'll leave you a call, sweet cakes.
Horrific work hours, 18 hours a day, forced calls.
We'd come dragging into work in the morning and work until 11 o'clock at night.
If you really must know, it was so dull, I think I went to sleep.
Hey, Kelly, come on, calm down. We know you're tired. I'm tired, too.
They were living in a veritable fishbowl, and they were the queen fishes.
The stunts and, cars and skateboards and ice, we were called upon to do everything.
The stunts and long hours were especially hard on Farrah. The actress's childhood friend, Jan Alexander.
She lost 12 pounds in the first 2 weeks of shooting. It was really tough.
Watch this. Jill! What's wrong? Jill!
What happened?
I don't know. She was trying to eat her dinner. She just keeled over.
I can't seem to blame her. The food in here tastes like warmed over pig slop.
People say that it was a grueling schedule and that she lost weight, but I don't think so. I mean, Farrah was in the best shape physically and athletically of anybody I know.
But even producer Leonard Goldberg could see that Farrah was becoming physically exhausted.
In fact, Farrah at one point was looking very haggard, and I said, Farrah, you're looking tired. She said, oh, I'm doing so many of these shoots. We work till 8, 9 o'clock every night, and then on the weekend I'm just doing all these publicity.
Farrah wasn't the only one coming under intense pressure. According to producer Barney Rosenzweig, everyone on the set was living on top of a powder keg.
It was a difficult shop in which to ply your trade. Sniping all the time, background sniping, background second-guessing, all kinds of spy mechanisms everywhere.
Everything was chaos.
You couldn't go to the bathroom without it being reported to the front office.
Nobody knew quite what to do, and some of the scripts are horrific.
Something as simple as the producer of the show making a decision to pull the drapes had to be run by the front office.
Everybody had an opinion, and nobody agreed with anybody else.
It was pressure-packed, tension-filled.
Tensions were high and tempers flared. Everyone appeared to be stressed out. But Farrah's former manager, Jay Bernstein, believes the real source of pressure on Farrah was her husband, Lee Majors.
I could tell that Lee was not happy because he is a very traditional man and wanted a traditional marriage with a traditional wife.
From the beginning, Majors reportedly insisted on adding a clause to Farrah's contract that allowed her to come home to cook him dinner every night.
Her husband would wake up in the morning and she'd be gone to hair and makeup, to Fox, while he had to make his own breakfast on the way to Universal to do the $6 Million Man. He'd come home at night dead tired, and she wasn't there yet.
Bernstein claims Majors was eager to see his wife walk away from the series.
He was very unhappy, and his attitude to me was, look, this family makes $55,000 a week, and I make 50 of it, he said. So this is ridiculous. You know, I don't want this to continue.
Jay Bernstein says the fireworks began in February at the 1977 People's Choice Awards, where Lee Majors gave Candy Spelling some devastating news about Farrah's future with Charlie's Angels.
Aaron Spelling, his wife Candy, was being nice with Lee and saying next year's going to be so exciting. We're going to go to Europe. We're going to do all these things. And Lee just looked up and said, well, she's not doing the show next year.
Candy Spelling was stunned, and so was Jay Bernstein, who managed both Farrah and Lee Majors at the time. Bernstein assured Mrs. Spelling he would straighten everything out the next day.
So I called Lee, being sure that he was joking. And he said, no, that's it. And he said, and by the way, you always said, Jay, that the actor should never be the villain. You want to be our manager? Okay, then you be the villain.
If there was tension behind the scenes, the problems did not show up on the screen. Charlie's Angels finished the year at number 5 in the Nielsen's. For the first time in history, ABC, the perennial third-place network, reached number 1. And one of the reasons was Charlie's Angels.
It meant a lot to me because we had struggled when I was there. Milton Berle made his famous joke. I know how to end the Vietnam War, put it on ABC, it won't last more than 13 weeks. So we were the butt of a lot of jokes. So it was very gratifying to be part of making them number 1.
The show's formula looked perfect, but there was a big question lurking. Was Farrah Fawcett too big to stick with a TV series? Even the actors wondered if she would return for a second year.
Well, I don't know. I can honestly say I surely hope so. I talked to her the last day we were working together, and we were kidding around about it, and she said, you wouldn't be angry, would you, if I don't come back? And I answered quite honestly that everybody's got to make their own decisions.
The sexy blonde with the perfect smile and the figure that launched countless fantasies was about to break a lot of hearts. Charlie's Angels ended its first season in 5th place in the Nielsen ratings. But the show's breakout star was threatening to break away from the cast.
We need another diversion. Lloyd? Come on, I'll show you. At 50 miles an hour? 50! Sometimes I worry about her.
She had never had a serious talk with us about, I want to leave the show. It came out of the blue. We were just thunderstruck.
Her agent wanted to get her into features, and her husband wanted her to come home and cook. So she was a lady torn between the two.
We met with Farrah, and I said, Farrah, what do you want? What is this all about? Well, I want to be a movie star.
In court documents, Farrah claimed the status of her contract gave her an out.
So I hadn't really finished negotiating my contract, so it was open.
She had not signed her contract because they never agreed on the merchandising.
According to court papers, the producers insisted Farrah was bound by an oral agreement that she gave before the series was picked up. They soon learned Farrah was no pushover when it came to business.
I was in a slightly different position, I think, than most actresses just coming in, so, you know, we just came to this impasse.
Jay Bernstein says when Aaron Spelling learned Farrah was serious about leaving, the two men had a private meeting.
He said, you know, how can we stop this? And I said, I don't think I can stop this. He says, we've got to have her. It's the hottest show on the air.
The stakes were huge. Farrah was becoming a superstar. The producers had a hard time meeting her demands.
They'd been negotiating her contract and had a stumbling block with the merchandising. And this was used to get her out of the show.
We urged Spelling to do everything he could to keep her.
We got Farrah a terrific deal with MGM to do a movie starting at $500,000, which in those days was unheard of, and escalating to $1 million a film. And we said, you want to be a movie star here? No, she still wanted to leave the show.
On June 1st, production began on the second season of Charlie's Angels at Soundstage number 8 on the lot at 20th Century Fox. 2 of the Angels were on the set, but Farrah was nowhere in sight. Kate Jackson and Jaclyn Smith realized their co-star wasn't coming back.
We were all sad about it.
It was devastating because we were so close and we're having so much fun, and the show was doing so well.
I was disappointed, but I think if you care about somebody, you have to say, if this is what she wants and she's not going to be happy here.
Some people felt she did the right thing. Other people felt that she should have been loyal to them. So it was split 50-50 on the set.
Producers remained optimistic, and so did Angels co-star David Doyle.
She said, oh, I'll probably be back. They, you know, who knows, they might sue me.
And Farrah was right. On June 11th, production of Charlie's Angels was halted. Producers filed a $13 million lawsuit against Farrah Fawcett Majors for breach of contract.
They sent a letter to everyone in the business.
It was very awkward. It was ugly.
And every studio was notified. If you do business with Farrah Fawcett Majors, you could be possibly party to this lawsuit.
We told her that we'd be able to prevent her from working anywhere else for a year.
So she was dead in this town.
But she left us no choice.
Farrah was up for the lead role in the movie Foul Play, but she had to give up the part due to her contract dispute.
By the way, Goldie Hawn wound up doing the movie with Chevy Chase, and it made her a big star.
While she waited for her day in court, Farrah left Hollywood to star in the independent film Somebody Killed Her Husband, opposite Jeff Bridges.
Wasn't a good movie, but the idea was just to keep her working to stay in the game.
Meanwhile, producers began a frantic search for a new angel. Aaron Spelling's first choice was actress Cheryl Ladd.
We had all just found out that Farrah was leaving, and I said, you know, gee, thanks, but kind of no thanks. I really didn't see myself in that show, in that role.
Born in Huron, South Dakota, Cheryl Ladd moved to Hollywood in 1970 and eventually landed a job as the singing voice of Melody in the popular Saturday morning cartoon series Josie and the Pussycats. The actress went by her maiden name, Cheryl Stoppelmoor. She soon began appearing in cop dramas like The Rookies.
I always seemed to be the girl next door who was kind of fish out of water in the big city, who was raped and murdered and then died, you know, in the opening credits.
In 1973, Cheryl Stoppelmoor became Cheryl Ladd. That year, she married actor David Ladd, son of the celebrated Hollywood star Alan Ladd. Besides landing a husband, Cheryl was also making a name for herself in Hollywood. Aaron Spelling was so impressed with the young actress, he decided to cast her in his 1973 television movie, Satan's School for Girls.
And worked with Kate, as a matter of fact, in that movie. And Aaron was very aware of me, and I was kind of a favorite of his.
In 1977, Spelling wanted Ladd to replace Farrah as the next Charlie's Angel.
I'd met her and really wanted her to do it, and her answer was no, 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 no.
I wasn't so worried about it, except I thought if I really blow this and people hate me, that could be the end of my career forever.
She felt that Farrah had created such a huge thing that she had to follow her and she would be crucified.
Ladd turned down Spelling's offer. Disappointed, Spelling and Goldberg continued their search for a new angel. They came across 23-year-old Kim Basinger, who had guest starred in the highly rated Angels in Chains episode.
I just hope I can measure up.
But Aaron Spelling couldn't get Cheryl Ladd out of his head.
Her eyes gave you the sense of never having done a thing wrong. She was really an angel. It just came right through.
Spelling approached Ladd again.
And luckily, Aaron called me later and he said, okay, we've looked at 250 girls. I haven't found anybody I want in the show, and I want to talk to you. Will you come and talk to me? And I said, well, of course I will.
Spelling met with Ladd to ease her anxiety about joining the cast.
I just don't really feel like I could be Farrah. I mean, only Farrah's Farrah. And he said, no. It'd be a whole new character. What if you were her younger sister? I said, well, if I could be funny, if I don't have to be this sort of glamour thing all the time. When we started talking about Chris Monroe in those terms, all of a sudden I kind of lit up. I went, okay, this could be fun.
From the moment Cheryl Ladd walked onto the set of Charlie's Angels, she faced an uphill battle.
We don't want her and we don't need her.
There's nothing personal. It's just that we don't need anybody.
That's right, whoever it is.
Now look, nobody can take Jill's place with us. Nobody.
The three of us in the beginning had been there from the beginning.
I know it was difficult for Cheryl to come into a show that was already established.
It was a little intimidating because they were all a family. You know, they had a hit show and they'd been doing it for a year.
I mean, she had some tough shoes to fill.
So that first day walking on the set was a little nerve-wracking.
Ladd decided to make light of the sticky situation.
At that time, Farrah was Farrah Fawcett Majors, so I wore a t-shirt that said Farrah Fawcett Minor. And everybody laughed and I laughed and they all got the joke.
But Cheryl's struggle for acceptance was just beginning.
We never became close friends.
The new Angel was feeling the pressure to replace Farrah,
Helmut, what's wrong with you?
and producers prayed she could pass the test.
This has been fun, but I gotta run.
The second season of Charlie's Angels started with a cliffhanger. The fans' favorite angel was missing. Farrah Fawcett Majors was locked in a legal battle with producers, while the newest angel wondered if her co-stars and viewers would accept her.
Maybe we will work with her, and maybe we won't. Did you hear that?
Yes.
I just put all of whatever was going to happen politically with Farrah, without Farrah, was she coming back? I just had to put all of that out of my mind and become Chris Monroe.
It's me.
Who?
Chris Monroe.
Everybody was a little nervous about, are we going to have a show or not? So all of that was out there, and there was lots of pressure around it.
With Cheryl Ladd in the cast instead of Farrah, the chemistry between the angels was not the same.
We never became close friends, but I think on camera the relationship between the three of us still worked very well. So it was okay, but it was different.
She was easy to work with, open, and, you know, really, she gave as good as she got. I know it was difficult.
I would not say there was any kind of, oh, welcome to the show, because nobody was relaxed.
When Cheryl got there, she had it tough. I mean, they were rough on her.
Some days Kate would talk to her, and some days she wouldn't.
But Jaclyn didn't want to get in mixed. She was afraid that if she was too nice to Cheryl, that then Kate would be on her case. It was that kind of a bad balance.
And whatever animosity happened between those two, it was very uncomfortable for Jaclyn.
The tension drove Ladd to seek advice from series writer and producer Ed Laxo.
She says, they make me feel uneasy. All I ever said to her was, you're terrific, I love you, to keep doing what you're doing, and this too will pass.
Ladd found a true friend and bonded with Bosley.
Dear David Doyle, early on, he just took me under his wing and helped me keep a sense of humor, particularly early on in the beginning when it was so stressful and so tense. He just kept being my buddy and my friend.
To spark viewer interest for the upcoming season, the cast and crew went to Hawaii to shoot Angels in Paradise.
You know, we really couldn't go out. People were in the halls, outside our room.
We had thousands and thousands of people around us all the time.
We had to have guards.
I had never had sort of that much attention.
It was a whole other way of living.
It was fun and exciting and overwhelming and hot.
The producers were worried about much more than the heat in Hawaii. A crucial test was right around the corner. Judgment Day for the Angels came on September 14th, 1977, when Angels in Paradise premiered.
We were very, very concerned.
Everybody was really kind of holding their breath.
We didn't know how it would be judged.
That certainly wasn't a love note I found on the car.
No, and that bullet could have been meant for Chris.
Yeah.
The cast change did not hurt Charlie's Angels at all. Angels in Paradise scored first place in the ratings. The show was still on top. America fell in love all over again with a new angel.
You can imagine how relieved all of us were and how much less tension there was after the airing of the first show.
We knew that Farrah wouldn't be missed.
It was just such a great, great celebration.
Toy makers were eager to cash in.
Sabrina, Kelly, and Chris. Yes, Charlie's Angels. Beautiful dolls.
It was a little bizarre because I had a child who was playing with dolls, you know. To have a mommy doll, I don't know, it was a bit strange for all of us.
The Angels' popularity was not confined to the home front. They were sizzling overseas, too. One royal fan paid a personal visit to the Angels, an eligible bachelor named Prince Charles.
We thought, why is he coming to our set? He was saying that he and his mom, in particular, really liked the show.
The Angels had fans around the world, yet critics still hated Jiggle TV.
Well, come on, it wasn't Shakespeare.
That is an unkind cut, wench, though truly spoken.
I knew that part of the reason I was hired was because Aaron liked the way I looked in a bikini, and that was an element of the show, and we all sort of faced that music, and the ratings were even higher than the first year.
But Farrah was still a force to be reckoned with. After months of delays, the runaway star from the first season faced a court date with producers.
We didn't know if we'd win or lose, and they didn't know if they'd win or lose.
Producers felt they already scored a victory in the court of public opinion. During a special screening of the John Travolta movie Saturday Night Fever, a test audience in Cincinnati booed when Farrah's famous poster was shown on the big screen.
Clearly, the perception was she was greedy and she was selfish. She only thought about herself. She didn't think about her fans.
Farrah's former manager, Jay Bernstein, decided to play hardball.
I said, look, she's not going to change her mind, and I'm not going to change my mind. All you can do, if you want me out of this, is you'd have to kill me.
Both sides agreed to settle the dispute after a short time in court. According to published reports, producers agreed to drop their lawsuit if Farrah would return to the show for at least 6 guest appearances over a 3-year period. Hollywood's golden girl emerged from the courtroom untarnished. Farrah was all smiles as she walked away, and she kept that famous smile all the way to the bank.
She would get more for a week than she would have for the whole season.
Published accounts have indicated the producers agreed to pay Farrah approximately $150,000 per guest appearance, but those terms were not disclosed publicly at the time.
So we had to sign contracts that for 15 years we wouldn't tell anybody this.
The Angels had a lot to smile about, too. Their show finished the second season at number 4. The show's ratings were even higher without Farrah. But in season 3, Farrah was returning in a few episodes for a role she didn't want.
All she really wanted to get, I can say in one word, was out.
They didn't exactly roll out the welcome wagon for me.
The third season of Charlie's Angels started off like a breeze. All 3 angels reported for duty.
Well, I think the embarrassment was worth it.
The season also brought one of the most anticipated events of the entire television year. Farrah was coming back to Charlie's Angels.
Everybody was a little nervous. I was particularly a little nervous because I didn't know how she would be with me. And I guess she didn't know how I would be with her.
Jill?
There was a knockdown battle after Farrah left the series. Her guest appearance was part of a court settlement with producers. Farrah's homecoming was bittersweet.
I loved it when she came back the 3rd year.
I was happy to see her. You know, I mean, you don't forget a friendship like that.
Everybody was very nice to her.
It was still okay, but it was different.
It was awkward.
Complicated.
I wonder if it'll be hard for her to walk on the set. She'll be kind of shy about walking on the set.
It was hard on Farrah because I don't know if she wanted to come back.
I had these like 3 dozen long stem red roses delivered to her trailer and with a welcome back card on it and all of that.
The fact that she had to come back, I think, was not something that she was thrilled about.
She didn't want to be there, but she had to be there.
They needed her. I mean, they were paying a lot of money to get her back, so why make it difficult?
It was complex because everybody had moved in another direction, but we made it work.
I have a friend with me. I thought maybe you'd like to say hello.
I don't know. We're pretty busy here.
Pretty busy, huh?
The ratings proved Farrah was still a phenomenon. Angel Come Home finished in 3rd place for the week.
It was great when she came back. It was really fun. It was like old times.
But the old times didn't last long. Another angel was about to make a permanent exit. Kate Jackson had her eye on the big screen, and she landed the role of a lifetime.
That was tough because Kate had an offer to do a very good movie, and we had to tell Kate that she couldn't do it, and that didn't endear us to Kate.
The inner turmoil Kate had to deal with, losing that part to do a television series you're still unhappy for, was emotionally hard on her.
She was right about the movie. It was Kramer versus Kramer, and an actress named Meryl Streep got her part.
Kate's personal life was in much better shape. In August 1978, Jackson married actor Andrew Stevens, son of celebrated actress Stella Stevens. Then in October, the Angels heard wedding bells again as Jaclyn Smith walked down the aisle for the 2nd time. Smith married actor Dennis Cole. They were happy times for Smith, but Kate Jackson was forced to deal with a professional disappointment. The following spring, Jackson watched Meryl Streep win the Oscar for the role that she was forced to give up. Jackson reached a turning point.
As an actress, I felt that I had sort of done all I could do with that character and with that role.
Kate wasn't happy with the show.
It was not a love fest.
I kind of thought, gee, we're getting a little lax here in some of the scripts, and I'm getting a little frustrated.
She did her work, and she could be difficult, but she did the work.
The movie Turned Down was, I guess, the final straw.
After 3 seasons of crime busting on Charlie's Angels, Kate Jackson decided to hang up her wings.
It was difficult because she was with us at the beginning.
We tried to talk her into staying because now we would be losing a second of the original Angels.
She just said, I can't do it anymore. I've just done it enough. I want to try some other things.
I really felt I had served it well, it had served me well, and it was time to move on.
In the final episode of the season, Sabrina raised her glass in a poignant toast.
To next year.
And many, many more.
Those were Jackson's last words as an angel.
It's hard, and we hated to see it happen, but we weren't that surprised.
I don't have any regrets.
She had reached a point where she wasn't happy.
I didn't think maybe I'm making a mistake, or, oh, gee, I'm so sad this is all coming to an end. It was just, it was time.
But Charlie's Angels had another problem. The ratings were down. The show fell out of the top 10, dropping to number 12 by the end of season 3. No one was pushing the panic button yet, but suddenly there were reasons to worry.
It was difficult and a little scary because, again, we had a hit show and we wanted it to continue.
At that point, when we wrapped that season, I didn't know who was coming or going or what.
The 3rd season was no charm for Charlie's Angels. Ratings took a dip, and Kate Jackson left the show at the end of the year. With the loss of another original angel, the producers were feeling deja vu all over again.
We just kind of threw up our hands and said, oh hell, what next?
More than 5,000 women were considered for Angel's Wings. Among the contenders were future stars Michelle Pfeiffer and Connie Selica. Sherry Belafonte, daughter of singer Harry Belafonte, was also in the running for a while, and so was actress Catherine Bach. Bach didn't become an angel, but she played another sexy character for 6 seasons as Daisy Duke on the CBS series The Dukes of Hazzard. A different Bach, and no relation to Catherine, stole the spotlight in the spring of 1979 when the New York Daily News reported former Bond girl Barbara Bach was the new angel. That report turned out to be wrong.
Barbara Bach was one of the people we considered, but we went for Shelley Hack, who had this New England waspy, modelly look.
Shelley Hack's New England look was genuine. The 27-year-old was born in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh, it was a great place to grow up. And I was the oldest of 6 children, so it was a very close-knit family and simple.
Hack definitely had the face of an angel. She started modeling at age 14.
My first job was a cover of Glamour magazine. It beat babysitting, so I did it in the summers when I went to school. And it was fun.
Shelley Hack sported another advantage in the Charlie's Angels competition.
Kinda young, kinda now, Charlie. Kinda free, kinda wow, Charlie. Kinda fragrance that's gonna stay, and it's here now, Charlie.
I just had this amazing feeling that something really good was about to happen, and it did.
I was in love with her from the Charlie commercials. And I went to Erin, I said, oh, please, please hire her. She'll add such style.
Turning a Charlie girl into one of Charlie's Angels seemed like a natural.
I got this phone call from my agent. Just jumped out of the shower and I'd lost a lens. There were all these driplets of water and one of them was my lens. So I was crawling around the floor and phone rang. I picked up the phone and he said, Erin Spelling wants to see you.
The looks were very, very important because, we had 3 beautiful angels to start with. Then we lost one, replaced it with another beautiful angel. Now we're losing another angel. And I think you need somebody who's going to blend in with their beauty and style. And Shelley was the one that we chose.
I thought she was a great choice because Shelley brought this East Coast quality, and certainly hers was a departure and different than anybody that had been on the show.
I love Shelley Hack. She's just a great girl, just a great girl.
I was on the evening news. I was in all the newspapers. It was a huge deal.
Shelley brought a lot of different things to the show.
Shelley Hack made her debut on September 12, 1979.
Jaclyn and I are kind of looking at each other like, well, here we go. Let's hope this works.
The episode Love Boat Angels rated #1 for the week. But it was the last time the Angels ranked on top.
It's a little odd, don't you think?
Yeah.
Very odd, I'd say.
Fans were not thrilled with Charlie's newest angel.
I got such weird questions from the press. Well, you haven't got a lot of acting experience. How can you possibly, have enough experience to do this show?
I just kept trying to be really supportive, and boy, I really understood how tough it was to come on and be the new girl. Had been there, done that. And so I just tried to give her as much support and be as loving and helpful as I could be.
I don't know what happened to her. I think that she was in over her head a little bit.
I don't think enough time it was taken with her character or how she was going to fit in with us.
It was an awkward introduction. I was hardly in the first couple shows. I don't know why that is.
It was really unfortunate and unfair for Shelley.
I think she felt very insecure, and she got to where she wasn't being so pleasant. She got very demanding and very, kind of difficult about her wardrobe and everything, which was not what any of us expected.
Meanwhile, Charlie's Angels lost its time slot to the NBC sitcom Different Strokes.
We were disappointed, but we all kind of realized it was missing something. We didn't know what.
The usual network promotions for Charlie's Angels failed to spark viewer interest.
I think people got disillusioned a bit with the show.
Even Farrah Fawcett could not reverse the Angels' poor ratings trend. Her final guest appearance registered the lowest rating of the season, finishing at number 34 for the week.
By that time, the magic was gone.
The magic was also gone out of Farrah's marriage.
In 1979, she once said, "Men no longer run my life. I do." She set out to do what she thinks is right for her.
Farrah split from husband Lee Majors. Both stars were working full-time in feature films.
So they really had less time than they did while they were both doing television series.
Farrah began a steamy romance with her husband's friend, actor Ryan O'Neal.
The lack of time together took its toll on the marriage, and they ultimately divorced.
There were some prices to be paid.
Fawcett wasn't the only angel who ended up in divorce court.
There were a lot of divorces on our show.
In the middle of the 4th season, Charlie's Angels was running out of steam.
Yeah, okay. I think people kind of lost track of us somehow, of what the show was and who we were.
The show didn't change, you know, the concept didn't change.
Other networks had 2 years to try to counter-program. They were counter-programming more effectively every year, and that's what was happening.
For a while, it was just kind of the best of times and the worst of times all at the same time.
Cheryl Ladd filed for divorce in January 1980.
My marriage was not doing well, and, you know, it was a lot. It was just a lot.
Charlie's Angels was not doing so well either. By the wrap of the 1979-80 season, the show dropped to number 20. For Shelley Hack, the party was over.
I never expected to be there more than a year, and I wasn't.
Shelley brought a lot of different things to the show.
The chemistry never clicked.
She didn't really work out.
She wasn't terribly happy doing the show. It wasn't working.
Shelley Hack was not invited to return for another season.
So I did my year, and I moved on.
It's always sad. It's very intense with these girls. They're your friends, and then boom, they're gone.
That was just fine. That was plenty for me.
As the 4th season ended, the producers geared up for yet another angel search. With lower ratings and lousy publicity, Charlie's Angels was in real trouble. The pressure was on to find a perfect angel who could save the series.
I think at that point, they thought that was a plus for the show because it was always a surprise. Who is the new angel going to be?
I don't remember who we saw. It was like, do we have to do this?
To make matters worse, Jaclyn Smith, the last original angel, announced she was leaving at the end of the 5th season.
I was on a hit show. I learned a lot. I made a lot of friends. But I thought I was ready to move on at that point.
From the show and her marriage. In June 1980, Smith separated from her second husband, actor Dennis Cole.
I wish everybody would understand that when a young lady takes a role in a series, she has very, very little time of her own. And she doesn't have the time to give her husband or a boyfriend the time that's necessary.
Everyone prepared for a bumpy ride going into season number 5.
By the time the 5th year rolled around, I think Jaclyn was like, okay, I'm done. I've had enough. And that was my 4th year, and having a small child at home, that was enough.
Meanwhile, after looking at more than 2,000 beautiful candidates, Aaron Spelling liked a 25-year-old newcomer named Tanya Roberts. Tanya Roberts was born in the Bronx. At 15, Tanya began doing off-Broadway plays and TV commercials. Tanya met her future husband, Barry Roberts, waiting in line for a movie.
I went out with him, we became best friends, and like a few months later I asked him to marry me, and we've been together ever since.
In 1975, the newlyweds left the Bronx behind and headed to Hollywood to find success. Tanya continued to land small parts in various films and TV projects, like the movie Zuma Beach, starring Suzanne Summers. In 1980, Tanya auditioned to become an angel. The sexy redhead was exactly what the producers were looking for.
We tried to go for someone who was a little more street, a little more urban, a little more ethnic.
All of a sudden, I got a big break overnight.
You didn't mess with Tanya Roberts, man. She was great fun to work with.
Ooh, honey. She, again, brought another whole earthy quality to the show.
She was rather colorful in her language. Most of the time, Jaclyn and I would be going, but she had us laughing.
She was so enthusiastic. She was thrilled to be there, and she worked very hard.
I thought this could work. It's different, and I liked her very much.
Wardrobe designer Nolan Miller saw another side of Tanya.
I went to her apartment, and the typical questions that I ask, you know, is are you comfortable going without a bra? What kind of things do you like? This kind of thing. And her husband piped up and said, she has a beautiful body. She can wear anything. He said, go on, honey, show him. And she pulls her sweater off, and there, I went, gulp.
I'm not an exhibitionist at all. No way.
She was not shy.
Get out of here.
She was a hoot. She didn't care if she wore a bikini, you know, in the laundromat. She was going to do what needed to be done, and she just had a great attitude about it.
With declining ratings, the show needed a boost. So once again, the cast and crew headed to Hawaii.
That was our excuse to put them in bikinis, you see. Bikini Fever, we called it.
But trouble was brewing back in Hollywood.
I never expected that they'd stop the season.
We went through a year of hell.
The 5th season of Charlie's Angels began with a trip to Hawaii, but the shoot was cut short. Production came to a sudden stop when the Actors Union went on strike on July 21st, 1980. The cast and crew packed up and returned to Hollywood, where the work was less glamorous.
I remember carrying a picket sign, walking around the studio with David Doyle. That was strange.
The actors' strike continued for 3 months. The walkout pushed back the debut of the fall TV season into October and November, creating chaos and pressure to score ratings quickly.
We were down for those 3.5 months, and we hadn't had enough momentum, really, to build before the strike came.
By the time the Angels made their season debut on November 30th, 1980, they also had a new time slot on Sunday nights and much tougher competition from Archie Bunker's Place on CBS and Chips on NBC.
ABC decided it wasn't good enough to be number one. They had to win every single half hour on television. So they moved us to Sunday night because they weren't winning Sunday at 8.
The network was bearing down on producers to put the Angels back on top. After the season's opening night, the Angels had reason to celebrate. The show landed in the Nielsen Top 10 for the week.
We went to Hawaii, and that brought the rating up quite a bit.
Still, Charlie's Angels was battling to stay alive. Despite the addition of Tanya Roberts as a new street-smart angel, the show's ratings went into a nosedive.
It was evident from the numbers we were getting that the show had lost its zing.
After years of rating supremacy, the show that launched Jiggle TV lost its sizzle. People magazine even asked, "Is the jiggle up?"
You know, I have dreams that look like this. Yeah, but when it speeds up, I bet it's gonna feel a lot more like a nightmare.
By February, the show dropped to 59th out of 66 shows. On February 21st, 1981, ABC placed Charlie's Angels on hiatus.
I never expected that they'd stop the season any more than anyone expected the strike would happen. So those things happen, and they're unfortunate.
A little disappointment and a lot of relief. I think I was tired by that time.
It looked like the Angels solved their final case.
Toward the end, I think it just a lot of things, and Kate leaving, and then Shelley, and it just all seemed to kind of implode on itself somehow.
I think everybody was ready to say goodbye at that point.
But the network brought back the series in June and returned the show to its original time slot on Wednesday night.
Oh, how could you do that?
We were simply trying to find a time period where it might, work to enable us to, keep it for another season.
Well, we kind of like to finish what we started.
4 new episodes struggled against reruns on the other 2 networks. The series, which debuted with Super Bowl-sized ratings and climbed all the way to #1 in its first season, was getting clobbered by The White Shadow on CBS and Real People on NBC. ABC made it official.
Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry, Charlie.
Charlie's Angels was canceled.
It was kind of a mutual decision that we thought the show had run its course.
Since it was, fairly expensive, it just didn't pay to keep it on.
It kind of hits you that you're not going to be coming back to the studio and have that same parking place that you've had for 4 years.
It changed my life, I mean, it really did. I don't know for better or for worse, but it was what was meant to be.
I was so sad because, it was a big break for me, and I was really sad. And everyone else was jumping for joy.
I walked away thinking this was an important time in my life and a good time in my life.
Poor Tanya was just getting on a roll, and it ended for her, which is really, that was sad.
I was dragged for a day, and, I got over it.
It's all in your upbringing, and, I had signed a contract for 5 years. You know, I don't mean to sound like goody two-shoes, but that's my feeling. You know, you uphold your contract and you fulfill it. And I did, and I loved it.
All we wanted was a successful show. We didn't want to become this icons. But it's still, when it's over, it's over.
It's hard to walk away knowing you're not going to see those people every day again.
Sad.
The final episode, Let Our Angel Live, aired on June 24th, 1981. And then, Charlie's voice went silent. But the Angels would take flight again in a very big way.
It was hard for me to sort of revisit the past.
After Charlie's Angels ended in 1981, the show aired in syndication, and the Angels went their separate ways. Farrah Fawcett took on a variety of serious acting roles, including the 1984 TV movie The Burning Bed, which earned Farrah her first Emmy nomination. Posing for Playboy in 1995, the sexy blonde set magazine sales records all over again, proving she was still a phenomenon. But Farrah's personal life has been full of highs and lows. After her split from husband Lee Majors, Farrah began a long-term relationship with actor Ryan O'Neal. The couple had a son in 1985, but Farrah broke up with O'Neal in 1997. During an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman that year, Farrah's unusual behavior prompted public speculation about drug or alcohol abuse.
People thought it was a drug-induced performance. But she's not a drug person. What had happened, she hadn't slept in 5 days because she was editing a Playboy video. To me, it's very sad to have something that is to be judged guilty in the court of public opinion like this, because she was innocent.
And she might have had some stumbling blocks along the way, but in the end, I'm sure she's proud to say that she became independent.
In 2002, Farrah seemed in good spirits with her guest appearances on the CBS series The Guardian. 4 years after Charlie's Angels, Kate Jackson returned to primetime with 4 hit seasons on the CBS series Scarecrow and Mrs. King. But Jackson went through 3 marriages, all ending in divorce. In 1987, Jackson was diagnosed with breast cancer and underwent a lumpectomy. 2 years later, Kate endured a mastectomy.
And the public still rallied for her during her illness. Kate, to this day, is cancer-free. She adopted a child who is 8 now. She's doing well, and she continues, as all the other Angels, to try to do her best in the entertainment field.
Like Jackson, Jaclyn Smith racked up 3 marriages and 3 divorces. But in 1997, she walked down the aisle a 4th time. Smith shares another tie with Jackson. In 2002, Smith became a breast cancer survivor after undergoing a lumpectomy and radiation treatment for the disease.
She was dubbed the Queen of Miniseries for so many years, raising 2 wonderful children, and yet keeping her values.
I can't tell you any woman that we worked with ever, as sweet as Jaclyn.
The other Angels also enjoy active careers. Cheryl Ladd won critical praise for her work, including her portrayal of Grace Kelly in a TV movie.
I've done 35 films of movies, television, got to do Broadway. Who knows if that would have been there for me without Charlie's Angels.
The show took its toll on Ladd's personal life.
You're not going to have it all good all the time, and nobody told us that part, that something was always going to suffer, whether it was your children or your marriage or your work. You can't have it all and have it all be perfect.
Shelley Hack appeared in the ABC series Jack and Mike in 1985, but the show only lasted 1 season. Today, Hack works as an international media consultant.
Mostly I deal with media and politics and how media relates to building democracy. So I've worked a lot in Bosnia, Albania, Croatia.
Tanya Roberts posed for Playboy in 1982, then went on to star in several films, including a turn as a Bond girl in A View to a Kill with Roger Moore as Special Agent 007.
When you've been in something that's as high profile as The Angels or Bond, it's like it never ends. There's always interest. It just goes on and on.
Tanya returned to primetime TV in 1998 for 3 seasons on the Fox series That 70s Show. She left the series in 2001. The actor, remembered as lovable Bosley, David Doyle, suffered a fatal heart attack on February 26, 1997. He was 71.
David Doyle was a dream. He was so much the spirit of the show.
He just kept making me laugh. He just kept being my buddy and my friend, and I just could never thank him enough. I miss him.
The original Angels believed the secret of the show's success was their special bond.
I think it was the camaraderie, you know, between the three of us. I mean, and I think I can say that with certainty.
The three of us clearly had a real friendship, a real emotional bond, and it showed.
Although most critics panned Charlie's Angels, then and now, the Angels themselves are proud of the show's impact.
We were all like 3 grown-up Girl Scouts. We never slept with anybody. We were just always stood tall with each other.
I still meet all kinds of kids. They're grown up now. They go, I used to play you. We used to run around in the neighborhood, you know. It was really, in a way, a really good model for kids because it showed young girls that they could be anything.
In 2000, Angel Mania was born again with a big screen version of Charlie's Angels. The film starred Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu.
I think the movie version is 10 times bigger because of all the stunts and everything that they have and the tricks that the young ladies do are marvelous. Physical tricks. I'm not talking about tricks in the sack or anything. Okay.
Jaclyn Smith returned to her original role of Kelly Garrett for the movie sequel in 2003. Smith performed with second-generation Angel Drew Barrymore.
I did a scene with Drew, and she's incredible. And she had watched this show as a young girl, and it made an impression on her.
Die-hard fans continue to celebrate the series, and so does the ex-Angel who was there when the show was created.
We were at the right place at the right time, and the country was ready for it.
It will always stay in my mind as one of the greatest fun things we've ever done.
All we ever meant to do was just entertain you, just give you an hour, let you have a little fun with us.
Anytime I do my Charlie's Angels impersonation, of course, I go, freeze. You okay, Kelly? You okay, Bree? I cannot tell you how many thousands times I said that. On my tombstone, it's going to say, freeze. You okay, Kelly? You okay, Bree? Seems like I just said it a billion times, but that was Charlie's Angels.
We need relief in television, and that's what Charlie's Angels was. And I guess that's why, it's still alive today, because it's a winning concept. It's a bit of fantasy, and we all need that in life.
God. Hi, whoops.
And you're going to be watching Angel? Sorry.
Okay. What is it you're watching, Charlie's? Oh, poo, this is getting me cuckoo.
Stay tuned for more Charlie's Angels TV tales.
Hi, I'm Tanya Roberts, Charlie's Angels. Oh, excuse me.